However, following the suspension of the PMS subsidy removal, the 2022 budget framework has been revised to fully provide for PMS subsidy. An additional provision of 2.557 trillion naira will be required to fund the petroleum subsidy in 2022. Consequently, the Federation account main pool revenue for the three tiers of government is projected to decline by 2 trillion naira, while federal government's share from the account is projected to reduce by 1.05 trillion naira. Therefore, the amount available to fund the federal government budget is projected to decline by 969.09 billion naira. Aggregate expenditure is projected to increase by 45.85 billion naira due to additional domestic debt service provision of 102.5 billion naira net of the reductions in statutory transfers by 56.67 billion naira as follows. NDDC by 12.61 billion naira from 102.78 billion naira to 90.18 billion naira. NEDC by 5.90 billion naira from 48.08 billion naira to 42.18 billion naira. UBEC by 19.06 billion naira from 112.9 billion naira to 93.21 billion naira. Basic Health Care Fund by 9.54 billion naira from 56.14 billion naira to 46.60 billion naira. And NASENI by 9.54 billion naira from 56.14 billion naira to 46.60 billion naira. Total budget deficit is projected to increase by 1.01 trillion naira to 7.40 trillion naira, representing 4.01% of GDP. The incremental deficit will be financed by new borrowings from the domestic market. Equally, it is imperative that Clause 10 of the 2022 Appropriation Act, which stipulates that the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, and the Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit, NFIU, are authorized to charge and defray from all money standing in credit to the units as revenues, penalties, or sanctions at 10% for technical setup and operational costs at the units in this financial year be repealed. This clause is in conflict with the Act establishing these agencies, as well as some other laws and financial regulations of the government. These are neither revenue-generating agencies nor regulatory bodies that generate revenue or charge penalty fees. They are fully funded personnel, overhead, and capital by government through budgetary provisions. The Fiscal Responsibility Act 2007, as well as the Finance Act 2021, require that these agencies to remit fully any recovered funds to the Consolidated Revenue Fund. This course may lay a dangerous precedent and spark clamors for similar treatment by other anti-corruption agencies. Also, the Clause 11, which stipulates that notwithstanding the provisions of any other law in force, Nigerian embassies and missions are authorized to expend funds allocated to them under the capital components without having to seek approval of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, should likewise be repealed. It too is inconsistent with the extant financial regulations and the Public Procurement Act, which set thresholds for approving officers and parastatal ministry standard boards, for which awards of contracts for the procurement of goods and services. This also amounts to an intrusion of the legislature into what is an executive function. Given the urgency of the request for amendments, I seek the cooperation of the National Assembly for expeditious legislative action on the 2022 appropriation amendment proposal in order to sustain the gains of any passage of the budget. Please accept the Single Senate President the assurances of my highest consideration. Yours sincerely, Muhammadu Buhari. Birthday announcement.